Good evening and welcome everyone to the Santa Clara City Council special meeting of Monday, March 9th. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our statement of values? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and the will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let's seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so that we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Assistant City Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Hardy.
Present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Present.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Watanabe.
Here.
Councilmember Shahal. Here. Mayor Gilmore.
Here.
Thank you. May I read the Statement of Behavioral
Yes, please.
Standards? The City of Santa Clara has adopted a code of ethics and values and behavioral standards for public meetings to promote and maintain the highest levels of conduct. This includes mutual respect, robust discussion, and allowing city business to be done in an efficient and consistent manner. Please note that as the presiding officer, the mayor's direction in matters of process and decorum should be followed, and that use of the gavel indicates all conversations must conclude, and everyone in attendance should come to order and attention. Welcome and thank you for your participation.
Thank you for that. Before we go any further, I'm going to ask our city manager if she can just talk a little bit about the interesting way our chairs are aligned out here in the audience today.
Good evening. I just want to take a moment to explain the room. In response to the rapidly changing COVID-19 situation, aka the coronavirus, the city is taking many actions, including ensuring the recommendations from the county's Department of Public Health during both public meetings as well as during staff meetings. This includes reconfiguring the room in the city council chambers and other meeting spaces to allow for more social distancing. The county is recommending at least arm's length spacing apart, providing additional seating in the city cafeteria for overflow to allow for lower density in the audience seating, increasing daily efforts to clean and disinfect the chairs. So for instance, the chairs today have been disinfected and will continue to be on several occasions based on usage, regularly wiping down and disinfecting public spaces, deploying hand sanitizer stations, and we already have large signage up in different community spaces, and we'll be bringing those and installing them here at City Hall, as well as distributing county flyers that they've been putting out. Some are already in the back of the room. So we'll continue to monitor the situation and implement the county's recommendations for convening public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, on that. Before we go into our interview and hopefully appointment, we are going to have public presentations. So if any member of the public would like to speak on what we're doing this evening or any item that's not on the agenda, you can feel free to come forward. Assistant City Clerk, do we have any cards? Okay, so if you'd like to speak in the audience, now is your time to speak. Please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. Anthony Becker, resident of Santa Clara. I ask that you do not appoint somebody tonight. I ask that you do go to an election. Let the people to decide this, because I've noticed in my time of running for office that it was pretty hard to run against an appointed incumbent, and I don't think it's fair to the people that a body gets to select somebody for the city council seat. That's why I'm asking you tonight to default to an election in the fall and let the people of Santa Clara decide on who gets to run District 5. And I think the city will run in a very functioning way. And I know there will be in a majority most of the time, and I think it's just the most fairest way to do this. And just thank you for your time, though.
Thank you for your comments. Please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mark Kelsey. I urge you to collaborate and appoint a representative for the vacant seat for District 5 this evening. I think it's extremely important for District 5 to be represented. There's a lot of critical issues that the council will be facing, over the next couple of months, and it's a fairly long period until the election comes up. And so I've, as a resident of District 5, and I think considering what I've heard from my neighbors, we have a lot of issues in District 5 that are very important that need to be considered. We have the ongoing relationship with Santa Clara University that is very important to District 5. We have the reclaiming of downtown that is very important to District 5. I know we have upcoming discussions of the zoning code updates, which is very critical to the old quad. And so I think it's extremely important that District 5 be well represented during all this time. And then that we have an opportunity, of course, in November to have an election for this seat. So I urge you, I know it takes a nearly unanimous vote to appoint someone. I would urge you to collaborate and make that appointment this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Please come forward. Oh, yes? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm just here for a very brief minute. As a District 5 resident, I just want to echo the previous speaker's comments. I believe that we're unrepresented in District 5, and I really think you should make the effort to see if you can appoint somebody. It's just not fair to have a whole district in the city not be represented. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Let's move on now. We're going to now our interview and appointment, conduct interviews and appoint candidate to fill a vacancy for a partial term ending November 2020 in Council District 5. City Clerk, are you going to take this?
I will.
Okay,
I will be glad to.
let her roll.
All right, so I'm going to recap very briefly. Of course, a lot of folks in the audience here know what we're here for, but for those watching at home, we do have a vacancy on the City Council effective February 1st. Last month, Councilmember Mahan resigned, which opened up a vacancy for District 5. The vacancy was declared at the February 11th council meeting. And per our charter, the council has 30 days to appoint somebody to fill any vacancy from an elected office if the council so chooses. And for the council to do so, they need a supermajority, which is a 5-6 vote, which would be 5 out of 6 council members here. Sorry, it's a 4/5 vote, which would be a 5 out of 6 council members remaining. And so that would need to be done before March 12th. So tonight is the night to interview. We had 8 applicants after extensive outreach with the community for residents from District 5 who are interested in applying for the appointment or the vacancy. We did receive one withdrawal of an application, and that was from Carrie Proconier McLean. So tonight, we only have 7 candidates who are here for interviews. I think I went over all that. Before the meeting, I did pass out 6 just random numbered cards, and they drew it from this little fancy basket here instead of the usual cup because of the COVID. So, not everybody sticking their hand in a cup. So you all picked it out from a basket. You couldn't see the number, so they just went straight for a card. So there's not a lot of fumbling there. So we're being mindful of that as well.
The new way of living, so
The new
for
way of
now.
living.
Yes.
So the process, which is what we would recommend for the council to follow, and of course the council can choose to follow a different process if they so choose. But what we recommend is that each candidate would come in, speak for 3 minutes with an introduction, and then the council would have an opportunity to ask any questions that they so choose. There would be no limit to the responses from the candidates on those questions, but we ask that respondents, be mindful of the time. And then at the end of the questioning, there is a 1-minute closing for each candidate. All of the candidates will be in the staff conference room. They will not be watching the live stream, and I ask that candidates respect not watching the live stream or receiving text messages from friends who may be giving questions. We do know that this has happened in the past, so we ask that candidates respect that. Obviously, you're all in the room, so you'll see each other, and I guess that's kind of the honor system there. So they'll be in the staff conference room right across the hall. And then each candidate will come in the order for which they received on the little card, the numbered order. I don't even know what the numbered order is, so you guys will just walk up. And then after that's done, after all 7 candidates have completed the interview, then the council will go through the names of candidates. Each council member will have the opportunity to cast 3 votes for the 7 candidates, and then we'll look at which 3 received the most votes, and then we'll basically it'll be open to the council to deliberate based on those 3. So that's the process we'll follow tonight. If there's any questions, or if you would like to change that process, now would be the time to do it.
So Hassam, in the past, we've done 3 votes and then 2 votes and then 1 vote. I'd like to stick with that same process.
We can do that,
And
yep.
then when the candidates are finished, when they're in here, they can stay in here, right? They don't have to go back to the room. They're welcome to stay.
At that point, you already know what the questions were asked of
Well,
you, so you're
I'm
welcome
just
to stay,
saying that,
yes.
so they know they don't have to go back.
Absolutely, thank you for
that
reminding
they're-
me on that, yes.
That they're able to stay here. And does anyone from the
I have one
council,
question.
Councilmember Chahal?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to comment that in our report, like, there's a provision that we can make a motion directly based on the applications we received, instead of going into the full process of interviewing. Is that correct?
That's up to the council. I mean, at the end of the day, an appointment requires 4/5 vote. So it requires 5 out of the 6 council members that are remaining on the council. So, I mean, certainly all of the applicants have already filled out detailed applications. Tonight is an opportunity for them to respond directly to questions from the council. If the council wants to take a vote now, we can do that, but I mean, I also want to respect that the applicants have all filled out their application forms and have showed up for the interview. So, I mean, that's a discussion that you would all have amongst yourselves, whether that's something you want to do.
Okay. So with that said, as I mentioned in the last meeting, when we were approving the appointment process for the council member for District 5, I did mention that it's an added responsibility and has to be very selective decision, and I personally think that. And we have to be very diligent in our appointment process. So I've gone through all the application and happy to have 8 great residents applying for it. And after carefully reviewing the applications and keeping in view all the considerations, I think one application stands out, and that's of Surge Chain. And here are my reasons for that. His past experience as planning commissioner, as a planning commissioner chair, he doesn't have to be on-the-job training for related to zoning and all the planning commission decisions we council member take. So he already has that experience. He has served on Charter Review Committee. He has served on, he's currently serving on Santa Clara Chief of Police Citizen Advisory Committee. So for so many years, he has been involved in community in various other roles, such as Old Quad Association member, Master Gardener, robotics coach at Wilcox, and Rotary. His grasp of climate change and sustainability, this is one of the topics which is near and dear to all of us, and especially to the next generation. And his grasp on this topic will be an added knowledge, added asset for us as a council member on this council, if we can have him on the appointment. Other thing, he has been the one of the few
I think,
who
Council,
has.
can I just interrupt you for 1 second? I think before you continue on, we should ask the council if you want to go to a direct appointment, because
So,
we already have a
I-
process.
Madam Mayor, I plan to make a motion for that.
Why don't you start with, do we want to, instead of a particular candidate, do we want to engage in a process of just appointing one candidate before you go into all that? Because I assume that this candidate, if we do not vote to appoint someone right off the bat, would want to interview with the council.
I'm trying to save some time, Madam
Well,
Mayor.
why don't you just make the motion to
So-
see if we want to entertain that process as opposed to the one we've
What
already
I'm talking
decided
about
on?
is part of my motion, Madam Mayor.
All right.
So this is part of my motion. Why I'm trying to make that motion, I'm giving these comments, basically. So I have a right to make a statement on why I would like to make a motion
Okay.
on that, right? So he has participated in so many council meetings and given us so many suggestions for for so many years, right? And he's the only candidate who has been before the council in 2018 for the appointment. And most of you on the dais, excepting myself and Vice Mayor Karen Hardy, most of you all agreed for his appointment in 2018. So with that, as per staff recommendation, I would like to make a motion that we appoint Serge Chain for this appointment process.
I would like to second the motion. When I looked at, there are a lot of lovely people, and they're very good. But my concern is this is for a very short period of time. It's the first time District 5 will be voting, and I would be very careful about who I appointed for such a short period of time. And I had a very specific list of someone that has actually been before the voters for a council seat, is currently serving on a commission, and regularly attends council meetings. And those were my 3 criteria.
May I,
All right,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to see clarification from the city attorney. If a motion is taken now, or a vote on this motion is taken now, after the interview, and it doesn't pass, after the interviews, will they be able to re-entertain the same motion a second time in the same meeting?
I believe under Robert's Rules of Order, they could. It would be a little bit different, but I believe you could.
Okay.
All right, I think
can I
that,
get-
no, I'm sorry.
Can I get a
No, no, no,
clarification? I
no, no.
didn't hear that, ma'am.
Can you repeat your answer so
I-
that he can hear it?
I think what the city clerk was asking was if you're making a motion, if your motion fails and then you do go through the interview process, and then someone makes another, basically the same motion to appoint the same person, would that motion be appropriate under Robert's Rules of Order? And I believe that, I mean, you've adopted Robert's Rules of Order. It would be a little bit different, but I believe you could do that. I'm not sure. It would seem that it would be hard for that motion to pass at that point, though.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I just wanted to say, we all agreed to this process, to put it out there, to have the candidates come, to submit their applications, and to not even hear them and go through the interview process, I think is extremely disrespectful. Yes, City Attorney?
One way of avoiding all of this is someone could make a superseding motion, such as a motion to table, and that would table the motion until after you did the interview process.
Okay.
I definitely would like to make that motion, because what I just heard is not fair to the people that came and applied. And I'm disappointed in you, Raj. I really am. I am just totally blown away by this whole thing. And I think you did it because, Serge Jane,
no,
I can't tell you why.
don't,
Okay.
please.
I just want, no, it's not fair, and I'm superseding your motion.
And I'll second it. Oh, excuse me. I'm happy to second it.
His motion to,
Yeah.
Brian said I would be able to not, we have a process.
The wording would be a motion to table the motion.
Table it,
Was a
sorry.
motion. No, I'd like to share, Mayor, that, I mean, if this motion were to pass, that, I mean, frankly, it's very unfair to Mr. Jane, because it puts him in a position where he knows what the outcome, how the council feels. And frankly, I think that he should recuse himself at that point, because what's the point of remaining as one of the candidates? So I think it's a very unfair motion, the initial motion.
So there's a superseding motion to table this item?
Yes.
And is there a second?
So
I think that that could be an appropriate motion if the council gets to that point after we go through the process, we have advertised this. We all voted on it unanimously to go through this process. People have spent time and effort to come to interview. They did everything we asked, and just to not let this go through, I think, is really unfair. And I don't understand why it's happened, but I really don't even want to continue talking about it. We're wasting everyone's time at this point. Can we just have the motion to table and then move on with our process and our interview process for District 5? This is a really important appointment, and to try to come in the beginning and sabotage it, I think is really wrong. And in all fairness to everyone, whether at the end of the night we come to a decision or not, but just to do this in the beginning is really, really wrong. So let's just, I don't want to spend any more time with this. There's a motion and a second to table. Can we call? Teresa, would you like to say something?
I just want to say something, that there is more to a candidate or a person on the council rather than what goes on an application. And I think I remember a couple years ago when we had our process, the person who actually came in first, who was the first person to not be voted on, I was surprised. I didn't think that that's what was going to happen, but he knocked the ball out of the park in the interview. And that night we had a lot of great people, but he came in number one, and then we had others. I think sometimes you see a side of people and you get an insight once they're talking, once you get a chance to ask them questions. And so I'm not in favor, as I said, because having been in the position myself of preparing answers, practicing a statement, all of that, I think it's only fair to hear people.
So a motion to table?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm trying to be as judicious as I can myself. I don't want to waste, like last time, we were here till 2 o'clock and we could not make an appointment. I do not.
Okay.
I do not
ladies,
want to.
please.
I do not want to make that call, and I want to be very clear because my motion, I'm only standing behind of all the 8 candidates as per the staff report. I'm not doing something wrong. The staff report clearly says that. I'm making motion according to staff report. And if that motion doesn't pass, I want to make it clear, I will be abstaining for any future votes on this agenda today.
Okay, so that's a better question for this council. We all voted to come to this process. We all approved the process. We're all here this evening. We had 8 candidates that applied, and you now, Councilmember Chahal, are saying you are not going to participate and not vote in the process. Do we have any other council members that are not planning to participate and vote in the process? Because if we have one more, then we're going to end this because we won't be able to get to 5, 6, and I certainly don't want to go through what happened to us last time. Is there any other council members that are not planning on participating in this process this evening besides Councilmember Chahal?
I also feel the same way, that if we cannot come to that decision, I would like the voters then to make that decision, because it is such a short time frame and it does give someone an absolute advantage, and I'm not real comfortable with that.
But you were comfortable in giving Mr. Sudge Jane the advantage, but nobody else. Okay, so we have 2 council members that are not going to participate in this process, correct? Correct.
That's correct.
Unless we
No, we
appoint
did
your
participate.
choice, Sudge Jane.
Madam Mayor,
Correct?
we did
I
participate.
just want to make sure
No,
it's correct.
we did, no, it's
wrong.
wrong.
No. Hey, excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm upset because we all agreed to this. We have all these wonderful people out here that spent a lot of time and effort to come here this evening, and you both throw this on us right now. It's not fair to the people. Again, deja vu. Here we go again. At least you're doing it in the beginning of the night.
We
So
appreciate
it's my
that.
understanding if we don't approve the motion to approve the candidates that you want, then nobody else gets it.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
okay,
Yes.
so City Attorney, how do we proceed now with this?
Well, you could follow through with a vote on the motion to table, and then someone could move to adjourn.
Okay. Let's vote on the motion on the table, to table the item. And that passes 4-2. So maybe we should have an official vote on who will participate in tonight's voting. Is there a motion?
That's the same motion, man.
No, it's not.
Excuse me, do we need that motion? Or since they both have declared that they're not going to participate, we
I
just,
don't know what kind of motion we make.
You don't need to motion, you don't need to make that motion. You could if you would like, but you could just simply adjourn.
Or if somebody wants to move to adjourn.
Or you
moved.
could.
I'm not moving to
Or you
adjourn.
could continue the meeting. I guess we don't really have any more time, though, so you can't really continue the meeting.
I have a statement.
all right.
Can I, do we get to say
Is
something
there a
about this?
second to, there's a motion to adjourn?
He said to make a motion to adjourn.
I don't
so
want to
I-
adjourn
Second.
yet.
All right, motion to adjourn second. Any comments? Councilmember Davis?
Yes, I have some comments. Okay. Again, I am extremely disappointed in now two of you because you agreed to a process and these people came, spent their time, and you know what it's like to go and run for an election. And a couple of these people out here already have. And then you come here tonight with this little plan of yours, and I know it was a plan. And it just is not right. You waste people's time, and all because of what you want. And you're smiling, Raj. You think this is so freaking funny. You
Debbie,
disappoint
Debbie,
me.
I'll get my turn.
Please, please,
I'll
please.
get my turn.
No,
Don't
no,
point
Debbie
out.
got your
Please.
turn.
Debbie, please, Councilmember Davis, please address the
Okay.
council.
Mr. O'Keefe, my apologies to you. Mr. Knack, my apologies to you. Ms. Cordova, Brian Lowry, and I think you're my other guy, my tech guy. I think you're Mark. Okay. I wasn't introduced to you yet. Mr. Avena. I am so disappointed that I just can't even begin to tell you how much this angers me, because it's a waste of your time. You came here, you were expecting to be interviewed, a process was going to be followed, and now it's not. But you have a chance to run in November, and I hope that you do a heck of a job when you are there. I know that this District 5 will be underrepresented right now. There are a lot of things. Mr. Kelsey told you all this. And God love us for whatever's going to happen going forward for the next 8 months. But it really bothers me that it's a waste of your time, and I do apologize, because I just think it's inconsiderate, it's rude. It is amazing to me that two people can hijack a meeting like this and do what they want, all in the name of one person. So my apologies to you, my apologies for getting very upset, but I do not like this. I think this is ridiculous, and it's a process that they agreed to a couple of weeks ago, and that you all had time to fill out and spend your time. So I apologize. I'm very sorry.
Councilmember O'Neill?
Oh, that was, I was
Oh,
going to speak
from
on the last
earlier.
one, but I'll say, I'm disappointed also, and at least, I guess, you at least indicated at this point, instead of 2 hours from now, that this was going to happen. But I, like I said, you never know who is going to emerge and shine, and we've been hearing a lot from people that they want to have somebody dedicated to really advancing the needs of District 5. So I'm disappointed also.
Madam Mayor, if we want to open for public comment on the motion to adjourn.
Pardon me?
If we want to allow for public comment on the
Yes.
motion to adjourn before we
Yes.
vote on it.
Okay. Councilmember Chahal?
So, Councilmember David Davis, last time when we were here, every one of you mentioned that they should have been told in advance at the start of the meeting, if this was the case. And here we are, when we are trying to tell you who is, and we are following the rules of the law, whatever was devised to us, whatever was written to us, we are following that. And it is written, clearly written. It should be noted that the council may by motion on 4/5 majority vote to appoint a candidate directly on the basis of written applications and without following the below outlined proposed process, as long as it is made tonight. So why do you say that I'm not following the process? I am following the process. And last time you were the same council members who mentioned that these two council members should have told in advance, very much in the right, if they were to vote like that. And here we are. We are trying to tell you in advance. And according to us, maybe I'm wrong judgment or a right judgment. I'm not saying I'm making best of judgment, but it's my judgment. I'm thinking this is the best candidate I can support at this stage. And I'm not trying to hijack anything. You have enough votes over here. You can continue with that. I'm trying to give you my position. And that's my position. I don't want to keep you over here for 2 o'clock and then come to the same conclusion. And last time all of you were saying that, oh, we should have been told in advance. And here I am trying to tell you in advance. And now you have a problem with the same process which you are trying to agree to. And this is not the end of it. Like, we will have election for this seat. And either we have appointment or we will have election. And that's what we are going to do. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not distorting anything. I'm following the process, and I'm being very transparent. I'm very transparent that, okay, this is my choice. And you all voted for him. Last time you told that, oh, we all were ready to vote him in. So it all depends on you. Don't try to blame other council members for the same thing what you're trying to blame other council members for the other side. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Watanabe?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm disappointed as well. District 5 has been without a representation for almost 2 years now, well, if you go to the end of this year. And now we have been put into a position where, frankly, Councilmember Chahal, if you wanted to nominate Mr. Jain, you could have waited until we went through the process, if that is how you felt, and give the other candidates an opportunity. You could very easily have made a motion to appoint him at the end. But no, you want to hijack this meeting. And I find it very interesting that 2 council members who've been on this council for really not more than a year are using any opportunity they can to change the way this council operates, coming up with their own rules and regulations, and frankly, going against the council. It seems every turn, it's quite clear the direction that you're coming from and where you want to take this council. And tonight is definitely a clear indication. I apologize to the candidates as well. I know you all prepared. I met with some of you to talk about your applications, and you are all very good, qualified people. I'm sorry you're not going to have this opportunity tonight, but I think it's quite clear what's happening here, and we all need to take notice of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hardy? Vice Mayor Hardy.
I read all of the applications very carefully, and considered everyone. There was no bad person on there. But this is very, very important, and we have a very short time frame for this person, if appointed, to serve. We have an election coming up. This is the first time District 5 would be voting, and in many ways, it may be better just to leave it open. I only saw one candidate that I felt could step into that, and that's why I seconded that motion. But if that is not a consensus, then it will stay open, and I think it's better to do it at the beginning.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the public now.
Again, as a District 5 resident, Brian Doyle. Councilmember Hardy, it was just last week that you said you feel you represent all the people of Santa Clara. Well, I'm a resident of District 5. I don't have a representative. I think you owe me, as a voter, the duty of at least considering other candidates besides the one that is the only one that you would consider. I do not think that is fair. I don't think it's fair to the people of District 5. We do not have a representative. I have no one I can talk to about the issues in my neighborhood. My neighbors have no one to talk to about the issues in our district. I think it's absolutely important that you follow through on your statement that you represent all the people of Santa Clara, not just your own interests. I feel the same is true of you, Councilmember Shahal. And I think that at least the people who are District 5 residents, including the candidates, should have the opportunity to come up here and express their opinion about whether or not you should try to act tonight.
Thank you. Hello.
Good evening. I'm Mary Grizzle. I live in District 5. And I was so certain that this was going to happen tonight. And I'm so disappointed that it's not. Our district has been without a leader. I know that all of you have stepped in at different phases of that we've gone through. And I want to thank all of you for doing your best. But we have been without a leader, without somebody who takes an interest. I say this all the time on Facebook. I want somebody like Kathy Watanabe to take over my district. I want somebody energetic, somebody who will put their guts, soul, and heart into their district. And we've done without. And our district is the most needy of all of the districts. We have so much going on, so much building, so many complications. And I was so looking forward to responding to my constituents, the people who call me and say, what do we do with this? What do we do with that? That I could tell them, we finally have somebody that you can talk to at any given time. You just need to text message or whatever. I'm very disappointed in this process right now because I understand that both what you're doing is legal and both what you're doing is legal. If you wanted both, I mean, to have somebody appointed is legal according to your constitution or whatever you want to call it, the charter. So I understand where both of you are coming from, but I think that if you don't go with this process, I think you're making a big mistake for District 5. Thank you.
Anthony Becker, resident of District 6, former resident of District 5. I see what Council Members Hardy and Chahal done. I agree with them. It should be an election. They stated it at the beginning. We went through this the last time in 2018. But all I gotta say is sitting in this room, this is a plot twist. This is must-see TV. I mean, if you're really wanting to see something, tune in right now. In 2016, I applied for appointment here in the City Council. Rumors were circling around, either from Dominic Caserta to many other people in this council chambers, that said that there was a deal to make Councilmember Watanabe on the council then. So when you guys point the finger, I think let's look in the mirror. Because honestly, I am tired of the politics in the city. I'm tired of the division. I'm tired of the corruption, and I'm tired of the battling. Please, let the people decide on this. And let's go back a year ago to 2018. You all took the 4 majority. Councilmember O'Neill, Mayor
If you just
Gilmore.
address me, please,
Okay.
thank you.
You all made a vote to motion to appoint Suds Jane. Now suddenly we're changing our minds if they made a motion this way. We need to stop the politics. That's why let's go to a vote. And every applicant here tonight, run. I'm running. We need change in this city. And I feel for every one of you, Mayor Gilmore and all of you. I understand where you're coming from. I understand where Raj and all you come from. I love my city. You love your city. But for the best representation, let's let the people decide this. And I know in your hearts you feel the same way. But like I said, it's politics in this city. But let's just get along, please. I'll get along. you get along. It's an olive branch maybe, but thank you. Thank you for all your time and thank you for the applicants. We all love our city.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Herbir Bhatia, speaking as a resident of City of Santa Clara. Before I belong to any district, I am a resident of the city. And there's a couple comments I want to make. One, this was a highly educational process for me. I didn't know anything like this existed. I was just watching and observing. I came in excited to greet whoever will be the council member for District 5. But I have to tell you, first of all, I'm impressed. Kudos to all of you that applied. And I'm hoping you just learned that this is the beginning of this process. And if this should make you feel that you should not pursue this, well, you're up for a greater challenge. So maybe this is a great opportunity to participate and get involved. And there's a lot of commissions and committees that you can be a part of and have a way to serve. But more than that is I really would like the leadership on the stage and the dais to remember you're the leadership. And your votes should be respectful to each other, and you should treat each other with respect. I appreciate the mayor trying to get everybody to calm and be focused. But my issue is when you do personal attacks, we look to you guys as role models, and this is not what I expect of my role models. Whether it goes to individual members bringing up things we've never seen before, or it's individuals being unhappy with somebody else's vote. Today you're not happy with this, well other days other people are not happy with your decisions. But we sit there and respect it because the fact that you all have the opportunity to represent us, and that is something you should not forget. You represent us. And if people have voted, and the way you have voted displeases you, you're absolutely okay to be displeased. It is not okay for you to go after each other and not remember that you all are here to serve and serve us, not each other, and be disappointed with each other's decisions. And that is just something that I never have come up to you, any of you, and spoken this way because I have such high regard for each of you for the commitment you've made to serve in this city. I know we don't always agree, but I always respect you for your decision to serve. But please remember to behave like it because we're watching and learning from you. Thank you so much.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. My name is Brian Lowry, and I personally resent what you said about the candidates. I have run twice. Those were not easy campaigns for me to do. Trust me, I lost both of them. People spent a lot of money to defeat me. I never felt any rancor towards those people who won. I actually congratulated them in the Santa Clara Weekly. I'm speaking directly to you. I served on the Citizens Advisory Committee for 7 years. 7 years of my life went down there, and I was at every single meeting, and Judge was there too. I want to say one thing to you. Even though you agree that this is the way you think it should be, the democratic process is for you to allow it to go through. If you say you don't want to waste your time, I ask you, why are you there? Why are you there? This is a democratic process. I'm not going to speak for the 7 others. I'm just saying that I spent a lot of time preparing for this, and you sabotaged this dream, not only probably for me, but for the other members here. You personally sabotaged it along with you, because the democratic process is the right thing for us to do. We all complained about what happened at the national level, that these people wouldn't allow the democratic process to occur. And now we're stuck with this. I want to leave you with one thing. This is a picture of my son drawing planets. He was so happy for me to be here. He wanted me to ask them if you had any questions about the planets or about the solar system, that I could answer them with this picture. So I want you to personally know that you've destroyed this evening, probably not just for me, but for all of us, and it's not fair. And we're going to leave here now. Now, I walked for a lot of people in this valley, and I go to those people, and a lot of them are not going to vote. I know that, but I keep going back and saying every vote counts. Every vote counts, and you should have allowed this vote to go through no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. Will Connor, resident of District 5. I was here at the council meeting where the vacancy was declared, and my public comment that night was that you should only engage in this process if everyone was willing to make a good faith effort to appoint a resident to the seat. Quite frankly, this doesn't seem like a good faith effort. I'm disappointed in the council members that claim the motion to directly appoint Judge Jane was following the process. I say that because in the last meeting, The process that was agreed to was to hold interviews, and another commission meeting was even postponed from being held in this room so that interviews could happen. If you had a problem with going through the interview process, that should have been stated at that time. And also the argument that appointing Sudge Jane makes sense given the other council members voted for him the last time is quite frankly insufficient. This time, it's a different time now than what it was then. You've got different candidates now than what it was then. At the end of the day, quite honestly, I'm just incredibly disappointed in how today has developed and speaks to a level of dysfunction that just should not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry.
I just have one thing to say, and that's that I don't mind anybody thinking anything they want to, but to come up here, I don't know how long the interview process was supposed to be, but I think you took a good portion of what the interview process could have been to nominate Mr. Jane. And that's fine if you have an opinion, but I wish you would have withheld it until an appropriate time. Like that you wanted to have a vote is fine, but so did everybody here. And that you got to pitch your candidate, I thought was unfair. So that's my only opinion.
Anyone else? Mr. O'Keefe. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Bob O'Keefe. I'm an applicant, but I'm also a resident of District 5. When I applied, and just speaking to a few of my fellow applicants here, there was a strong sense that this might not be appointed tonight. We knew that. We were going to come here and give it our best shot, but it could end up for no appointment. I ask that you continue the process tonight, though, for two major reasons. First of all, it will give the applicants time to express themselves to you, the council, and also the public. I plan on running for the office in November. It might be a way that the community can get to know me a little better if I'm allowed to give my 3-minute speech. Also, secondly, in our charter, it states about filling the position needs to be by a 4/5. It's odd how it's written. It says 4/5 of the remaining members. We have to fill this position by the 12th, I believe. That would be the 30 days. I have a question about what 4/5 of the remaining members means. If a remaining member purposely abstains and removes himself from the process, there might be, I'm not a lawyer, there might be some legal issue with they are not anymore considered the remaining member of the council by them abstaining themselves. I think if we do the process tonight, the council will vote. Obviously, it'll be a 4-2 abstention vote. It might be a 3-1 vote. It might be a 2-2 vote for the particular people involved. But we finish the process. That will give the city attorney, if he needs the time, to research the issue a little bit better before the 12th to see if there is any credence to that idea of what a 4/5 of the remaining body means. Secondly, it might give the applicants time to seek, if they wish, their own legal counsel to see what a 4/5 legal body means. So I ask you to continue the process tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. To be honest, I would love to be voted down. I would love the process to continue. I spent time on a speech that I'm really proud of, and I would love to be heard because I feel like I invested a lot of time talking to District 5 residents to hear their concerns, and I want to make sure their voices are heard too tonight. And feel free to vote me down, but I would love the process to continue even though we don't think someone is going to get appointed. Thank you.
Good evening.
I'm Lou Faria, and I'm a resident of District 5. Before I talk about this process here, I resent when a council member says that our district was not represented for the last 2 years. We were represented by Patty Mahan, and she did a great job. So it just hurts me and hurts our district when these comments are made. So I hope that does not repeat. I wasn't going to speak tonight because I know a certain group already has made their decision. This is apparent in other appointments. So it is kind of a waste of time, I agree, but still, we do need to do the process. That the process is that the candidates need to be heard and then voted. We don't say, okay, I'm going to vote for somebody, let's skip the whole thing. No, go through the process. Thank you.
Hossam Hagag, I'm speaking as a resident, and particularly a resident of District 5. I do want to point out a couple things. Back when I was in the Charter Review Committee, I think it was in 2016, we put forward 4 charter amendments on the ballot. One of them was Measure Q, which changed the way that we appoint council members. It used to be a simple majority of the remaining council, and it was actually my idea to change it to a supermajority. We didn't think it would be used like this, but I think the intention of changing it to a supermajority was that appointment is a special privilege. And really, we want voters to have the opportunity to elect the person of their choice. But we recognize that a vacancy, it puts a burden not only on the residents who don't have representation, but it puts a additional burden on the remaining council members who now have to shoulder that additional committee responsibilities and whatnot. So we made it a supermajority, not a unanimous, but a supermajority. I think it would have been more appropriate, Council Members Chahal and Hardy, at the last meeting for you to make your intentions clear at that time, before we had applicants put forward their names. I do think it is your right tonight to decide not to appoint, accept your choice. I think it would have been more appropriate for you to have done it at the last meeting. And I think out of respect for the candidates, and I was one of the candidates who was here till 2:30 in the morning at the last appointment, who was nominated and was not appointed. So I do understand the desire to save people time, but I think, Rob, you said it right. We spent way more time right now talking about this than actually going through the process. And the second point that I want to make out is that, just in my last 10 seconds, is that every person who came up and spoke at this podium tonight who said leave it to the election is not a resident of District 5. I want to make that very clear. All of us in District 5 want representation. If we go through the process and nobody gets appointed, that's fine. But I think it would have been more appropriate in the last meeting to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Cordova, one of the candidates, and I had no idea that there was going to be some sort of contention going on here tonight. But I do want to say that I agree with my fellow candidate that I would have liked to have been voted off the island, I guess you could say. So I'm a student at leadership at St. Mary's College of California. I am a 22-year civil servant who has worked for the public for many, many years, and it was my little dream here for 3 minutes to tell my story. And unfortunately, I was not given that chance. And I had no idea. I had no idea that this was the process. So unfortunately, I won't be running in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I wasn't prepared to speak this evening, and I want to thank each of the applicants for, putting in those extra hours of taking the time to writing the, the speeches that you've written and all the work you guys have done. My name is Dan Ondersack. I'm co-chair of Reclaiming Our Downtown, and I'm not going to take this time up, but the one thing that sticks with me that I heard tonight is this is a, quote, short period of time. And we're looking at 10 months, I think, or something like that. And in that 10 months regarding the downtown, we could be looking at, mistakes that occur. They're critical things that are coming up even in the next 2 or 3 months that we need to champion for the downtown, however you want the downtown to look. It could be the difference between having a true downtown that's extraordinary, which this city deserves, or a strip mall, which covers 2 blocks. So I think the fact that we're not going to be represented for that amount of time is not a short period of time. I thank each and every one of you for filling in during these last months and years, actually, for making a lot of this stuff happen. But we have to have a champion for this downtown, or it's not going to occur. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come. Oh, were you up here earlier, Mary, on this one? Oh, okay, a tiny comment. Okay.
I just want to
Tiny
make one
comment.
clarification. I like Patty Mahan a lot. I'm in the women's club with her, and I like her sister. I like the whole family. Unfortunately, Patty Mahan was sick, and that is the reason why she didn't cover our district as well as she should. However, right now, it is urgent that we take steps to be covered. We need to be covered.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Okay, I'm going to ask, first of all, I see Councilmember Chal, you have your light on, but first I want to go to the city attorney because one of our speakers, Mr. O'Keefe, brought up, and I know we've all discussed this before, the 4/5 of the remaining council members. I believe it's whether you abstain or not, it's just the remaining up here of 6, correct? I just want to make sure
I think it
that
it means remaining after the vacancy.
after the vacancy, because
Right.
we did look into this last time. Okay. Councilmember Chakal, and then I have some closing comments.
Thank you, Mayor. So, from core of my heart, I'm trying to tell you that this being a privilege to appoint, and we have a process of appointment or an election. If I thought that's the best candidate to be appointed, I came up with that. And with no disrespect to any other candidate, you are all great candidates. I've read each and every resume. I've already marked those, and I've read each and every of those. Not that I have not read. I've read those, and it was my personal vote that I thought this is the best way to go forward. And I may be wrong, I may be right, but I'm telling you from my head and heart, I thought this is the best thing I can do. And, and I'm coming up with the same thing. If I would have not voted going forward, I would have only voted for one candidate. I would have been again trashed. Hey, why didn't you do this thing sooner? And now I'm being asked, and Herbie rightly pointed out, we all sit over here. I have been in minority so many times. I don't disrespect anybody. I don't talk by names for anybody. And it is high time we stop targeting people on the dais. Please, it is high time we stop. Let's talk about the agenda item. And I'm saying I followed the agenda item as per the guidelines we were given by the staff. I'm not picking up any council member for this thing. I'm not picking up anybody for this thing. I just followed a process, and I thought I have the same vote with each other council member and mayor over here has. I'm an elected official too. And your vote may be wrong sometime, my vote may be wrong sometime. But I'm trying to tell you, with all due respect, I respect all the 8 candidates. I respect each and every candidate. But I thought what I thought the best, that's the best way to do it. And again, it was a privilege, and I don't want to use that privilege for the way my colleagues want to use it, right? And it was mentioned, point came up about the last meeting, why it was not. The last meeting agenda had the same wording too. And why we approved that last time, we did not had any application last meeting. So only after the applications, you will find out, okay, these are the 8, 7, 8, 10, 20 applications. Then only you can make a decision. And I made that decision after getting the applications. It's not that I made that decision before the meeting or before even the applications. I did not make that. I made that decision after reviewing all the applications, all the applications. And I'm sorry if many of you or one of you felt bad about it. I'm really sorry about that. But I'm trying to tell you, my decision came from my head and heart. It is purely head and heart decision. And I don't criticize my colleagues over here when they vote different way. And please, let's make it a point. Let's not pick up the different council members. I have been here in a minority for so many times on different decision-making process. I don't pick anybody. I respect your decision-making. I respect the majority decision over here. Please stop this thing that we have to disrespect anybody who is making a decision which you don't like it. So, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make some closing comments. First of all, we're in districts now, so it's a whole entirely different story than we were even just, was it last year when we tried to appoint? Was it 2 years ago? It's 2 years ago. So then it was all of us were elected at large, and you represented the city at large. Now we're in districts, and I think that it changes the entire ballgame here, because each district and each council member is accountable to their district. They're voted on by their district. They have to answer to their district. So besides me, none of the other council members are accountable to District 5. They will all say we look at the city as a whole, and I guess once it settles in, they'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, they're not accountable to the voters in District 5. And so it's that much more important that we have a representative for District 5. And I'm just very disappointed that the other council members that are accountable to their own districts are denying District 5 representation. There's a lot of big things going on in District 5. The downtown plan is super important, and I'm the only other person who's accountable in District 5, and I have to abstain on that. And our former council member had to abstain, Patricia Mahan as well. So there's no champion for that, as we have talked about earlier. This was an opportunity to get that. 10 months is a long time. A lot can happen. It can make or break a project in 10 months. The El Camino specific plan is going on. The zoning code updates, all the issues with Santa Clara University, the transit area, development around the transit area. These are all very specific items that need to be taken care of in District 5. And I think that what's interesting to me is that, and I get it, council members can change their minds at any given time. There's no doubt about it. Everybody has a right to do that. The fact that they came out in the beginning, that's a good thing. So we didn't waste 3 or 4 hours going through this process. But what's interesting to me is both council members, with all due respect, said they want to go to an election. It's important to go to an election, but only if you don't pick my candidate. Right? Pick my candidate. If you don't pick my candidate, then I believe we must go to an election. So that, I don't buy any of that. I could have seen if they would have come out front and said, you know what, we can't do it. We want to go to an election. We just, we don't think, that this process is going to work. But that's not what happened. They came out and said, we've carefully looked at everything on the paper, carefully, and this is the best candidate. Well, we know by experience, and maybe that's what it is, it's maybe lack of experience. We know by experience that people are more than what's on a piece of paper. I think as Councilmember O'Neill said, they're more than what's on a piece of paper. You need to be able to work with people, deal with people. Being a politician, getting elected to office even, is more than, all the millions of things that are in your resume. You have to be able to connect with people, to communicate with people. There's so much more to it. Tonight was our opportunity to meet some new people I hadn't known before, and to see some other people who have been very involved in our community put their best foot forward and come and answer questions. They came forth, in good faith, following our process in good faith. And so it's not that you're putting us out, because we're up here all the time for hours and hours, doesn't matter. But I'm just really very unhappy that this process has put you out, our public out, our candidates out, and you have spent so much of your time. And you know what? There's some really great candidates. I'm just amazed at the quality of the candidates that we got for this District 5 position. They're incredible people. And I would have loved to hear them, and I have my list of questions ready to go, and really make a good faith effort, because I don't think anybody up here should deny this district any representation. But being the realist, I see that at least the two said they weren't going to do it. If we didn't take their candidate, we're not going to do it. So we have a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. Maybe the city attorney can weigh in on this. I mean, I did hear that several candidates were eager to even share their 3 minutes, and they didn't have a chance to tonight, whether or not they got a vote. If this motion fails, city attorney, the motion to adjourn.
It's a motion to adjourn.
Right. If this motion fails, does the process continue?
Oh, I see.
If the motion to adjourn fails, then we're still here.
I'm not sure a motion to adjourn has ever failed, but hey, there's a first for everything in this chamber. City manager, did you want to say something?
Before the meeting's adjourned.
Okay, on something else.
On
Okay.
another matter.
Yes, I got that. Okay. So council, I'm not sure if the applicant, I'm not sure if I were an applicant, I'd want to get up and speak to us. Does anybody, do we want to just finish it? Okay, let's finish it. And so we have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Yes.
Do you not have your iPad?
I was angry.
Please register your vote. And that passes unanimously. And I, again, want to apologize very much to our public and very, very much to our applicants. Meeting's adjourned.
I wanted to make an announcement.
sorry.
I wanted to make, so
Okay.
under the Health and Safety Code, a local health officer and the state health officer both have the authority to issue orders to bar events or take any other necessary actions to prevent the spread of a serious disease such as COVID-19. Based on the continued evidence of community spread of COVID-19, Dr. Cody has issued an order this evening that will impose a moratorium on mass gatherings in Santa Clara County of 1,000 or more persons. So this will impact the Levi Stadium. The order will take effect at 12 a.m. on March 11th, ensuring enough time for community outreach as well as for local law enforcement to review and implement the order. Along with the order, stronger guidelines will be issued urging the cancellation of gatherings of less than 1,000 persons, along with expanded guidance to employers, schools, and other groups. So as soon as we get those orders, we'll be sure to get those out to the community.
We have, city manager, let me ask, because we have events that have like 100 to 500 people. We have a lot of events coming up and other things. What kind of guidance do we give our community for those events?
What we had heard on Friday was anything over 100 should be suggested to either be able to ensure the guidelines from the county or to consider canceling the event. It sounds as if the county is transitioning into orders, and so as soon as we have those orders, we'll be sure to get those out. I do want to mention that we do need to schedule some time, likely this week, in the event that we're not able to hold public council meetings, where we may have to go to teleconferencing or other sources so that we can have accessible meetings for the public to continue the work.
For the people that have canceled events, is there any timeline as to when they can reschedule or just to be announced at this point?
What we heard on Friday is that events are being canceled for a month in its entirety. Today, the city of Sunnyvale took an action to cancel events through the end of April. And so we will be convening that, and that's what I just saw Councilmember O'Neill's face. The county requested that we look at 30-day cancellations. We chose to do a week at a time just because we wanted to make sure that we were making decisions based on most current information. It does look like with the county's action with the order for the rest of the month, we'll need to take similar action in that manner so that we begin to align to the county's orders.
And we can get this out to our public immediately in terms of the orders.
Our staff is on the call right now with the county. It began at 7. As soon as we are completed with that call, we'll start pushing out information.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have one question. So city manager, what about San Bruno shut down their senior center?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear?
San Bruno shut down their senior center by, they had a council meeting. What were we going to do with the seniors because they're the most vulnerable?
Our senior center right now has no programming other than the The food service that is provided, we are transitioning to go packages. We just need a little bit of time to turn the corner, so we're serving until we can provide brown bag. Our gym is on limited hours, and it's the hours that allows for us to wipe down equipment frequently, as well as to keep the gym sanitized. We'll have to reconsider that based on any new orders that we receive from the county.
Okay, thank you.